Thank you, Clark. Tomorrow, as you know, I think most of you know, faculty, staff, and students, is a very special day in the history of Jesuit High School. It's the 115th birthday of the school. The school was founded in 1899 on September 11th, and since tomorrow is a homeroom day, we decided to anticipate the celebration by having a little ceremony, some remarks today, and cake outside after Convocation to celebrate the 115th birthday of the school. Not too many institutions can claim that in the Tampa area. As far as I know, there's only one private school that's older, and that's the Academy of the Holy Name, some 25, 30 years older. There are very few other schools in the Tampa area, maybe only one or two that are even as old as Jesuit High School. So for us to mark these different celebrations, the 115th birthday of the school, is also to really recall all the generations that went before us, the many sacrifices that were made back in the late 1800s and in the early 1900s to get the school going, to establish a school for boys in downtown Tampa. And it gives me great pleasure, and it's really a great honor to be able to recognize all those who have gone before us, the Jesuits, the lay teachers, the staff, the faculty, and think of all of the student bodies year after year after year, 115 years. So it's a wonderful day for us to celebrate, and I'm happy that we're all here together. We have a number of our board members who are here, who have joined us, or at least I see two for sure. Lou Placencia, who's back in the back over here, and Mr. Ken Stevens, board members. If there are any other board members, of course, the Jesuits who are on the board as well. So I want to welcome all of them. We've invited a couple of guest speakers here to just share a little bit about what this day means and what Jesuit High School has meant to them, has meant to Tampa, and means to all of us. The first speaker to speak on the historical significance of this day and to speak about the relationship of Jesuit High School, which began as Sacred Heart College, to speak about the history of the school in relation to the history of the city, is Mr. Joe Sabin. Mr. Sabin has a unique perspective. He is an alumnus of the class of 1966. He's been on the faculty for 43 years, either a faculty member, guidance counselor, or administrator. From 2003 to 2011, he served as principal of Jesuit High School, the longest serving principal in the school's 115-year history. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sabin.
Good morning. You know that you're getting old when you're asked to speak about the history of a 115-year-old institution, but it is an honor and a pleasure to do so. The Jesuits of St. Louis Church, now Sacred Heart Church in downtown Tampa, opened Jesuit High School, known then as Sacred Heart College, on September 11th, 1899, with 5 students. By the end of the school year, the student body had grown to 21. The year before the school was founded, Teddy Roosevelt and his troops were in Tampa, preparing to ship to Cuba to take part in the Spanish-American War. The boys who would become Jesuits' first students would have seen their small town grow with the influx of 40,000 troops. Months before the school opened, the war would end and Cuba would be liberated from Spain. In January of the same year, the word automobile was used for the first time in a New York newspaper. In May, the lawnmower was patented, and the first auto repair shop opened in Boston. 3 days after the school opened, the first automobile fatality was recorded. Just 4 years after the school's opening, the Wright brothers successfully flew their plane. The school color was purple, and they were the Hurricanes. Can you imagine being the Purple Hurricanes? In April of 1924, Jesuit was accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. We are the longest accredited Catholic school in Florida. In December of 1924, the sodality was first instituted at Jesuit. Today's Augmen Christi has revived the old sodality with its focus on spiritual growth, leadership in faith, and service. In 1929, the school's name was changed to Tampa College. The name was changed to Jesuit High School in 1939 in honor of the 400th anniversary of the founding of the Society of Jesus. In 1956, we moved to this current campus to accommodate the growing number of students. The old property had been a dairy farm. Snakes, including rattlesnakes, were still on the property. A lake in the neighborhood in back of the school had an alligator that was feeding on neighborhood dogs. Some residents took things into their own hands and trapped the gator. They then paraded it around the neighborhood on top of a car. I arrived as a freshman in 1962. My freshman class totaled 92. There were 67 seniors. The entire school consisted of 359 students, far less than our current enrollment. The faculty numbered 24. Of these, 16 were Jesuits. The only woman on the staff was the librarian. The first woman to teach at the school was hired in 1971. We commuted as you do, but the distances were shorter. The Jesuits also commuted from downtown Tampa until April of 1963, when the residence was completed. Before its completion, one Jesuit lived on campus in an old frame house located across Loyola Lane from the cafeteria. Hymes Avenue was a two-lane street. If you lived east of the river, between Columbus Drive and Hillsborough Avenue, you could not use Martin Luther King, known as Buffalo back then, to commute, since there was no bridge to cross the river, and Martin Luther King was also a two-lane street. The area north of the school, across Hillsborough Avenue, was an orange grove. There was no circular drive. What is now the underclassmen lot was a combination of grass and sand. Faculty and students parked together in a much smaller parking lot where the senior lot is today, and there was a payphone booth with a rotary dial by the first canopy on Loyola Lane. The library, residence, Building 3, and the chapel all opened my freshman year. The area around the chapel still looked much like a construction site. Back then, the home stands in the gym and on the football field were where the visitor stands are today. The outdoor visitor stands were small wooden bleachers, the light poles were wooden, and the wire was exposed. In 1965, the varsity football team played Tampa Catholic for the first time. TC was then known as the Colts. They had a horseshoe on their helmets. When they scored their first touchdown ever against us, one of their fans threw a metal streamer in celebration that blew out the lights until Tico could come to restore them. By the way, Jesuit won 26-8. Jesuit has flourished in Tampa. The student body, faculty, staff, and facilities have grown significantly. Athletics have become the best in the area and in Florida. The curriculum was excellent and excelled, but at this time it is the best it has ever been. Religious life is vibrant. Strong college admissions and the number of scholarships attest to the excellence of our programs and students, as well as to the dedicated work of our faculty and staff. When all of the growth and change that the school has undergone over its 115 years, the mission has never faltered. Since the first days, everything done at the school has been for the greater glory of God. This relatively small school has had an immense impact in society that goes far beyond the boundaries of this campus and reaches throughout our country and into the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sabin. Our next speaker is certainly no stranger to Jesuit. Lee Pallardy's family tree represents 3 generations of Jesuit Tigers. He himself is a graduate of the class of 1969, and he played on the 1968 state championship football team. His father, also named Lee, is a graduate of the class of 1937, and his son Matthew is a graduate of the class of 2002. Throughout the years, Lee has served in many capacities at Jesuit, and in fact, has assisted many nonprofits and various organizations throughout the Tampa area. He's been a member of the Jesuit High School Foundation. He's currently a member, he's a member of the Jesuit Facilities and Real Estate Committee, and he served many years as a member of our Board of Trustees, including 4 years, my first 4 years as president. Mr. Pallardy was the chairman of the board. He most recently has helped us on the President's Steering Committee, and he continues to be a member of our Financial Aid Review Committee. Given that Mr. Pallardy and his family have been a part of Jesuit for more than 70% of its history, I thought it was appropriate to ask him to share with us what Jesuit means to him and his family and what it's meant to so many families here in Tampa. Please welcome Mr. Lee Pallardy.
Good morning. Father, thank you for the introduction. My mom and dad, my mom was Episcopal and my dad was Catholic, and when they got married, my dad, the agreement was that I'd be raised Catholic, but he wouldn't be insistent that we go to Catholic schools. Well, due to my marginal grades and discipline situation, my dad told my mom in the 8th grade that Lee needs Jesuit. And he called me in and told me that, and he said, now you can suffer for 4 years or you can make the best of it and enjoy it. I was fortunate enough to be one of the lowest scoring people on the entrance exam, and I was blessed with being able to go to summer school, which was a tremendous shock to my ego, because I thought I was pretty intelligent. I didn't enjoy the first 2 years, but I studied hard and I got good grades, and I made many friends. Father Kelly was my guidance counselor when I was a senior, and he recommended that I apply to Notre Dame, and I was fortunate enough to get in and enjoyed the education there. The thing I remember most about Jesuit and was the greatest blessing was the friends that I've made. My doctor, my dentist, my lawyers, my engineer, my main development partners all went to Jesuit. I'm not talking about Facebook friends here. I'm talking about real friendship. I'll give you a few examples. In September 2001, my wife had been in the hospital for a month in intensive care. She was in a drug-induced coma, and they were trying to get her out of the coma. She'd had lung failure. No doctor at St. Joe had ever seen a person survive from lung failure. They were weaning her off the respirator, and they were having problems getting her to wake up. And her eyes were bleeding. And the morning I went over there, her eyes were bleeding, and they had done some tests because they were concerned they had brain damage. She had brain damage. And I said, Lord, I said, I know you tell me that they're never going to give you more than you can take. But I've reached that point. I need some help. About that time, a friend of mine, Dennis Lopez, came, who was a graduate of Jesuit. I told him what the situation was, and he said, let me make a phone call. He said, do you know Donnie Perez? I said, no, I know who he is. I don't know him. He said, I'll call him. He's an ophthalmologist. There was no ophthalmologist on staff at St. Joe that day. He called Donnie while I was there. Donnie said, I'll be right there. He left a whole room of patients at his office. He came over, he examined Jean. He said, number one, there's nothing to worry about with her eyes. It's just a change in pressure due to her coming off the respirator. Number two, I'm telling you, she has no brain damage. I've looked at the optic nerve, the way it looks. She will have no problem. Needless to say, he's my ophthalmologist today. I went to a cocktail party in Father Kennelly's honor about 15 years ago, and I ran into Father Dole, who was my freshman Latin teacher. Father Dole told me, I'm going to be the next president of Jesuit. He said, what do you do for a living now, Lee? I said, I'm in the real estate business. He said, well, I'm going to need some help. He said, I don't know anything about real estate. I don't know anything about business. Will you help me? And I didn't tell him, well, I'll think about it. Let me talk about it. Let me see what my schedule is. I said, yeah, I'll help you. I didn't know what I was getting into because I've donated a lot of time and a lot of money to Jesuits since that day. I got a call one day from Steve Christ, who was in charge of the last capital campaign. Steve said, Lee, I want to raise $125,000 for Jesuit High School to give them a scholarship. Will you help me? Yeah, I'll help you, Steve. The thing that I'm most proud about, we called everybody that started on that football team, and every one of those people contributed, and we raised that scholarship. One of you guys out there is going to school here because of the contribution that those people on that team made, and the effort that additional alumni have contributed in making sure that money earns enough money to pay for one of y'all's scholarship every year. I built some warehouses, and I had a tenant that didn't pay me. Not only didn't pay me, he wouldn't move out of the warehouse, so I sued him. And he ran me around the courthouse and stayed in the warehouse for months. So finally we got a court date. Looked at there, Judge Chuck Wilson's the judge. I said, I'm gonna get some justice today, because Chuck had gone to Jesuit with me, he'd gone to Notre Dame with me. So we get over there, I'm ready to get a little revenge, We go in there and his lawyer stands up, and I didn't even go with a lawyer because I know I didn't need one. And Chuck looks at Pallardy versus so-and-so. He says, I need to stop right here. He said, I can't hear this case. I'm gonna have to recuse myself because I know what Lee Pallardy tells me is true, and I'm gonna believe everything he says. So he put it off another month. So here's what justice, integrity over trumps friendship. That's about the only thing that over trumps it. Fast forward 5 years, I come home from lunch one day to the office. My secretary said, the FBI is here looking for you. So that's just wonderful, He said he left his business card here for you. So what the hell does the FBI want me for, So I call the guy up. I said, can I help you? He said, yeah. He said, can I come see you? I said, yeah, when do you want to come? 5 minutes? This is sounding worse. So he comes in, he's about 6'6", 250, coat and tie, comes to my office, sits down. I said, can I help you? He said, yeah. He said, I want to talk to you about Chuck Wilson. I said, what do you want to talk to me about him for? He said, well, he's been appointed he's been nominated to be a federal judge, and we want to make sure that there's no embarrassment to the President of the United States of America, and we need some references. I said, well, how'd you get a hold of me? He said, well, he's on the board of Metropolitan Ministries, and you've been on the board, and Morris Senseman, the executive director, said you were a friend of his, and you'd know a little bit about him. I said, okay. He said, I got about 6 pages of questions for you. He starts asking him, is he a drug addict? Does he drink? What about his integrity? Does he have any financial problems? All that kind of stuff. When he gets through, he said, you got anything to add? I said, yeah, I got something to add. And I told him the story about me going to Chuck and thinking I was going to get some justice. And I said, I'll tell you something else. You write down in that report that he's one of the finest men you'll ever meet. He has both ability and integrity, and he's going to be on the Supreme Court one day. I could go on and on and on with some more stories, but I guess you get the drift of it, what I'm talking about, friendship. Jesuit has some characteristics that you can't really describe that are separate it from all the other schools in the area. Nobody else has a father and son retreat. Nobody else has a mother and son breakfast. Jesuit stresses the importance of the family. I've heard the president of the school stand up at the mother-son breakfast and tell y'all how important it is to respect women, how important it is to honor your mother. Completely contrary to what all the message you get through society. But the students at Jesuit, the faculty, the administration, we answer to a higher authority. The school is based on the teachings of Jesus Christ, and St. Ignatius of Loyola, and we want to live our lives that way. Jesuit stresses community service. What's important in life is how many friends you make and how many people you help and what you do for others. You're gonna get the most enjoyment and have the most happiness out of helping other people and out of getting a relationship with the Lord. I've seen Jesuit students, and I know some of them personally, they'll take the time to write a note to an elderly lady. Her husband's just passed. We'll take the time to go by and see her, just spend an hour with her. You know, they're lonely, to help them out. I've seen Jesuit students get up in a restaurant and walk across the restaurant when they saw a man that just had spine surgery and help him get out of his car and come sit down. I've seen Jesuit students pick up a boy with muscular dystrophy and carry him to the beach, carry him back to his room, get up during the night and give him water, get up during the night and help him go to the bathroom. It's ingrained in you guys. What is what you do for other people that's important. It's not what you do for yourself. I've never met a man that dropped out of Jesuit High School or was thrown out that didn't live to regret it. I've met many men, many young men. I was at Villa Madonna one day. I had a man come up to me and he said, "I'm going to Jesuit." I said, "You are?" He didn't know it had anything to do with Jesuit. I said, "Why is that?" He said, "I've seen some of the guys in the neighborhood that have been to Jesuit and they got something and I want it." I've had fathers come to me that have no affiliation with Jesuit and they say, "You know, I want my son to be in a Jesuit, to get into Jesuit, can you help me?" I said, "Why is that? Why do you want that?" He said, I can see what the alumni do in this community. I can see the young men at Jesuit, and they just got something else that these other public schools don't have. And I want some of that for my son." Got so many notes I can't figure out where I'm supposed to be. Your mom and dad have made a big sacrifice to send you here. You need to take advantage of it while you're here. There's about 150 of you here that are getting scholarships, and it's because the alumni or a parent of a student has contributed funds to pay for your education. Take advantage of the opportunity you've got here. Get involved in extracurricular activities. Make as many friends as you can. Because these people, what you learn here in the next 4 years will be with you for life. It's going to be like a seed that grows. It's not going to be fully grown until, long after you leave Jesuit, but you're going to have a good seed planted in you that's going to help you the rest of your life. You're in a situation now, as far as, in my opinion, the facilities are the best they've ever been. You got as fine a team of leadership as they've ever had. The faculty is better than it's ever been. So you're in a wonderful situation. You've got a school that teaches you the importance of community service, a relationship with the Lord, and making friends and trying to help people. You guys have the responsibility to make sure that Jesuit's successful the next 50 years. The reason I've donated my time, the reason I've donated my money, is because I see what each one of you students can do. One person can make a huge difference. Everybody you come in contact with, you can influence. The graduates of Jesuit High School make this world a better place to live, and I'm positive that they'll continue to do that. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Joe Sabin. In keeping with the celebration today, I'd just like to share a brief message with you now from an alumnus of the class of 1977, Mr. John Hamilton. John is currently the president and the CEO of Advanced Technologies Incorporated in Chicago. He lives near Chicago with his wife. I had the opportunity of meeting John a few years ago when I was visiting other alumni in the Chicago area. John made a point of taking me aside that evening in Chicago and telling me about how he'd come to Jesuit in the winter of 1973 as a first semester freshman transfer student. So he came in the second semester his freshman year. He was a soccer player at his former school, and of course the first thing he observed when he got here in 1973 was that Jesuit did not have a soccer program at all. So John actually led the effort to create the Jesuit soccer program. He became the principal founder of Jesuit's first soccer team. From humble beginnings, Jesuit soccer quickly developed, as we all know, into one of the premier programs in the state of Florida, and in some years nationally. Although John was unable to join us this morning, he's currently in Brazil on business, he wanted me to share a message to all of you, which I'll read now. Dear Father Hermes, faculty, staff, and students, although I can't physically be with you all this morning to share in the school's 115th birthday, I did want to share that Jesuit was an extremely pivotal experience for me in my personal and professional development. I credit so much of my success to the faculty, staff, and administrators that helped form me during my high school years to be a man for others. Like many students today, and like so many that have gone before me, I was a recipient of Jesuit's generosity. My parents could not afford to pay full tuition, but because Jesuit provided me and my family with financial aid, I was able to attend and experience a wonderful education that encouraged me to go forth and set the world on fire. Because I personally feel so indebted to Jesuit, I'm making a special gift in honor of her birthday. So Father Hermes, members of the faculty and staff, and all of you students gathered in St. Anthony's Chapel this morning, I am pleased to share that my wife and I have agreed to give $1 million to help continue to provide financial assistance for current Jesuit students with documented need. This is my way of saying thank you to the institution that means a great deal to me personally and that has given me and my family so much in return. Happy birthday, Jesuit High School, and go Tigers. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.